Okay, hopefully everything's okay. Hello! It is 11 weeks on tea. I haven't done one of these. Well, I've been trying to do them and I've gotten about halfway through and then someone's walked in or someone's demanded attention or otherwise distracted me. So this is long overdue, but 11 months, that's almost a year. It'll be a year on the 26th of November, which is kind of scary, actually. So that's quite cool. Changes, not that much to report. My facial hair is coming in. I've got very, very fuzzy cheeks. See how fluffy they are? So I've got fantastic mutton chops happening, and I've got a little bit of chin hair, but there's like a big gap here. I've got neck hair as well. And my moustache just isn't coming in because, hilariously, I have a single, it's on this side, bright ginger, like tango orange chin hair. And it is hilarious to me. I don't know where that's come from, but bright orange, like neon. It's really funny. Still getting pimples. You can probably see I'm picking at this one here. But about as many as I always used to get, to be honest. Nothing major. And so, all things considered, nothing much has changed. I don't think my voice has dropped that much more, if at all. It's sort of stabilised at this point. We'll see if it continues to drop. We'll just have to, I don't know, keep an eye on it. I still can't shout, which is very, very funny. I just don't have any strength to my voice to shout, which is hilarious to me. But I can sing, mostly. What's weird about my vocal range is that I have a big gap in it, so I can start and come down, come down, come down, and then it jumps. Which is bizarre. It's like it's not moved down, it's just lost middle register, which is interesting. Um, and so there's that. Not much else to report on that front, really. In terms of everything else, let me think. What's going on at the moment? Well, I did experience my first case of transphobia about a month ago, like directed at me, because it's everywhere in the media, but it's not directed like at you as a person. And so that was a bit upsetting. I was in a chat room and some people started getting kind of aggressive and demanding to know why they should respect pronouns and asking me a lot of invasive questions about like genitals and stuff, and it was just really inappropriate. It made me feel kind of, yeah, a bit unsafe. It highlighted to me how, I suppose, privileged I really am to have people around me who are so decent and, fucking civilized. Because face to face, I'm yet to encounter anything with that degree of hostility. I think that generally speaking, most people in this country are pretty chill or too polite to say anything because the English are very, very polite. But we'll see, because I think it's very easy to get very depressed in this country with the rampant transphobia in the media and how it seems to be that people in power, people with privilege, people with huge platforms are the ones that are screaming the most hateful stuff. But generally speaking, in my experience anyway, the general public just aren't like that. It seems to be specifically this group of, I don't know, white, straight, cisgender assholes. I mean, not all of them are straight. Some of them claim to be, gay or lesbian, but I'm dubious because, to be perfectly honest, the LGBT community has always been pretty cool, and maybe there are some who are assholes, maybe there's some who aren't, but the ones I've ever met have been mostly okay. I met one or two who have been complete dicks, but I think it's unfair to paint all of, particularly like the lesbian community, as being transphobic, because generally they're not. Um, they just, there's this vocal minority who are trying to tear the LGBT community apart, and it very much feels like a concerted effort from, well, people who might find the LGBT community a little bit threatening, because we're stronger together, aren't we? And if you pull us apart and make us infight about who belongs, you know, the sexual exclusion, the or bisexual, pansexual conflict nonsense, you know, the get the hell out crap, you know, you get them all infighting, and so then we can't actually focus on the real enemy, who is these, you know, straight people in power who consistently oppress us and try to erode our rights. And I don't know, I'm becoming more political, more kind of radicalized, I suppose, if you want, because it's very hard not to become very political when your existence and right to exist, your right to just live your fucking life, is constantly debated and politicized. It's difficult not to then, you know, just get involved in that. The problem I have is that I feel a bit powerless because I don't really know what I can do, what more I can do, and I get very angry. And unlike a lot of the other people who are in the public eye, you know, more, and let's face it, I'm a nobody, but you know, a lot of the other YouTubers and stuff like that are far more eloquent and far more able to rein in the emotions, which I can't do yet. I get far too angry, very, very angry, because it just feels so unfair and so cruel and unnecessary. And it's finding... Can you hear the banging? It's one of the kids. I feel like channeling all that rage into something productive is what I have to do. It's just finding that outlet. It's finding something productive I can do to feel like I'm helping. That's really, really annoying. But, you know, in... Bang, 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 bang. It's just thud, 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 thud. He's pacing backwards and forwards. The joy of a autistic household. Anyway, unfortunately it's caused me to lose my train of thought. Anyway, so I'm looking for productive outlets. I'm also kind of trying to just get on with existing, living, doing my thing, because ultimately I am significantly healthier than I was pre-T. I've only had one migraine since starting T, and we think that was Fallout 76's fault. So we think it was Bethesda's fault. I'm blaming Bethesda because they had a free weekend, and a few hours into starting to play on the first day I started to get a headache, and then I had a headache for the entire 4 days because I kept playing the game. And then as soon as I stopped playing the game, the headache eased up. So apparently it's something to do with the way it does motion blur or something like that. I don't know. There's something to do with the graphics which can trigger migraines in people who are susceptible to them. So that was kind of annoying. I was like, oh my god, damn you, Todd, and all of that. But that's the first time I've had one. I haven't had any like hormonal ones because I was really worried when I started getting the headache of, oh shit, what if the tea stopped working? I was still having a nightmare getting a hold of the testosterone because my GP still won't do shared care because she doesn't feel secure enough in her knowledge of prescribing it off license, and her boss, the manager of the doctor's surgery, doesn't want to prescribe it off license. Sorry, because the guidelines for the NHS are very, very vague and have become vaguer. They don't feel secure in doing it, which is quite frustrating, because it means that I have to go through private. So I have to email the endocrinologist, who can take days to actually get my email because he gets so many emails. And then he has to sign a bit of paper and he has to put it in the post. And the problem is that his workload is such that he doesn't necessarily sign that for like a week. And they keep going missing. Or at least, so they claim. He says, oh, I've sent it like a week ago and it just doesn't show up. And so then he has to send another one. And so I had 2 disappear this time. I had the first disappear. I put in my request on the 28th of September because I was running low. And I said, I've got a month left. I need my prescription, you know. That one went missing. I emailed again on the 12th and said, where's my prescription? They said, oh, we'll send another one. I only got my prescription fulfilled a few days ago because it finally arrived. And the stress that that is causing is just unacceptable. It is ridiculous because this is the second time this has happened. Both times through this endocrinologist, my prescription's gone missing. And so it just keeps disappearing. And I don't know why. Because it's just a normal looking letter. It just doesn't look interesting. And all my other mail arrives. Just this one important thing seems pretty suspicious to me. For it to just keep disappearing, you know. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm finding it very, very stressful because every 2 months I need to make this request saying I've only got a month left, I need a repeat prescription, and then I have to spend a month constantly hounding them to get that goddamn prescription. And the stress that that causes is unacceptable. It causes me massive anxiety, it fucks with my mental health, and the idea of running out makes me feel physically sick. Because if I run out, there is every chance that I'm going to end up with a full-blown migraine that will knock me out for, if not days, weeks, and all the other pain that has gone away, you know. And I do not want to go back to that, because going back to having, you know, pains that shoot straight up your arm and across your chest, of having palpitations, of having hot flushes, cold flushes, nausea, of being unable to sleep because of the hot flushes and the cold flushes and the nausea, having a constant low-grade headache that flares into a full-blown migraine, or worse, a silent migraine, which means you can't speak anymore. You know, I can get migraines so bad where I can no longer speak English. I'm just sitting there going, oh, you know. My face falls on one side. It looks like I'm having a stroke. It's terrible. You know, I had cramps that were so bad, they were like labour pains, where I would have to stop and hold on to something and breathe. You know, that is just not an acceptable way to live your life. And tea has helped all of that. It has gotten rid of all of it, you know. And I'm scared that if I run out, it will only be a matter of days before my body goes, oh, let's freak out again, and sends me back into that state. So that is a genuine concern, and that fear is what drives the stress. Because if it was just, oh, if I run out, oh well, you know, I won't get any changes for a bit. It wouldn't be such a big deal, but not only the mental health side, but the physical health side, it's a big deal. And I know that other people have the same problem, not necessarily because of the physical things, because the physical things seems to be weird for me, but the mental health side. My mother, after spending several months grieving because she had lost her daughter, finally admitted to me the other day, she said, you're back, this is the person you were as a child. I'd forgotten. And so apparently I am more like how I was before puberty came in. You know, ruined everything, because puberty's a prick like that. And that was quite nice for her to acknowledge that. And my other half has mentioned that, you know, my mental health has been a lot better, I've been a lot more stable, I've been a lot more able to bounce back from things, and a lot less just cripplingly depressed. So that is the effect of testosterone, that is the effect of HRT. And so I genuinely worry for other people, because I can't be the only one having this problem. You know, other people must be having the same problem. I was reading that apparently a good 80% of GPs will not do shared care, will not do bridging prescriptions. And with the wait list for the NHS gender clinics, can you not do that? With the wait lists being 3, 4, upwards to 5 years in some regions, that's 5 years without prescription. You know, having to go through the stress and the expense of this private prescription. Now, I'm in a fortunate position that I can afford the 80 odd quid it is every 3 months to pay for my testosterone, because it's about 30 or 40 pounds a bottle. It's not cheap, but I can afford that. Some people can't, and I can mostly wrangle the £300 every 6 months to see the endocrinologist, but that is in itself, that's a huge amount of money every 6 months to see an endocrinologist. And that is if your GP will even agree to doing your blood tests. Now, my GP will. They'll do bloods, but they won't do the prescription. Now, some people, their GPs won't even do the bloods, so they have to then get the bloods done privately, which costs several £100s as well. So it's a very lucrative area to take advantage of people who can't access NHS care because of the wait times, isn't it? But it's also highly stressful and incredibly expensive. And it's just being made harder and harder and harder. I mean, the is it Gender Care or Gender GP? That's it. Gender GP already had moved to Spain because they got in some trouble because they were just giving people HRT too easily or something. I don't really know the full details. Their pharmacist bowed to pressure and has decided they are not going to fulfill prescriptions. Now, I'm not entirely sure why they only go through one pharmacy, because I literally get a piece of paper and can take it to any pharmacy I want. But it means that a lot of people are not being able to access their prescriptions. There are thousands of people unable to obtain their prescription. And this is after having been on HRT for years, and that's catastrophic. That is incredibly bad for people's mental health and incredibly bad for their physical health as well, because HRT withdrawal is nothing to sneer at. Your body's become used to having a particular hormone in it. You suddenly take that away rather than tapering off with medical supervision. You just go cold turkey on that. It is going to fuck your body up. Anyone who's ever been on the pill or progesterone or anything like that knows full well if you go cold turkey off of that, it fucks you up. I mean, I ended up in hospital at one point because I went off of progesterone because it was making me sick. And my flatmates freaked out because apparently I turned grey. I turned a very, very funny colour and was shaking. And they got very worried and they dragged me to A&E. And I wasn't really in a very coherent state to tell them I was fine. I wasn't fine. And of course A&E couldn't do a heck of a lot other than say, well, that was stupid to go off of the hormones, wasn't it? But that is a real concern. Low testosterone causes headaches, it causes muscle pain and all of that sort of thing. Going off of testosterone HRT, if you don't do it properly, if you don't do it carefully, will cause that problem. You will get withdrawal because your body is used to having a particular hormone in it, and it takes a while for your body to start naturally producing the other hormones again. And if your body is like mine and is designed that it really doesn't like the hormones it produces naturally, it's going to make you really sick. So it can make people very ill. It can make people very ill mentally as well, because they've lost what is a lifeline to them. It's like taking away someone's antidepressants or their therapy. And so it's very, very dangerous, and it's very, very cruel. And it worries me. I worry about myself, but I also worry about other people within the community, because I know that I am relatively privileged in that I can afford to go private. But there's still that concern that even those who have been able to afford to go private through Gender GP have had that right taken away from them. And it worries me how long it will be before the other private clinicians start becoming impacted by this. How long until the London Trans Clinic or Gender Care or any of the other ones start to get antsy. And already they have made it much harder to access hormones. The gender care used to, you went in for your therapy appointment, they gave you a diagnosis of gender dysphoria after talking to you, and after that appointment you would get hormones. You would get a prescription with the understanding that within a few months, within a few months you would see the endocrinologist and make sure that everything was going okay. But now they can't do that, so you have to see the therapist and then see the endocrinologist within as short a time as you possibly can, which isn't always easy because the wait times are incredibly long. And you will only get the hormones after you see the endocrinologist. And so that's just another roadblock to put in the way, another thing to put in the way, and that means it's upwards of £600 in one go just to access hormones. And that's a lot of money to have to pay, out of pocket straight away. plus the stress of trying to get these appointments, and they're on opposite sides of fucking London, you know. One of the endocrinologists is down in Brighton, the other one's North London somewhere, so it's quite a trek, and it's not easy. And it kind of pisses me off that everyone acts like you just go in and you go, drugs please, and they just pour them into your hand, because that's just not how it works, you know. And it is a lot of work. You have to jump through a lot of hoops. You have to prove a lot. You have to appease certain bullshit, you know, gendered crap. And it isn't easy. You know, I found they criticise your attire. Both in the NHS form, you have to fill out a really big form when you are referred to the GIC, and one of the things in it asks your appearance, your way of holding yourself and all of that, and so the GP puts in like, who's dressed in blah, and you know, is well groomed or something, and you're just like, what the fuck relevance does the way I'm dressed have to do with this? It's fucking nonsense, and it makes you feel really judged. And when I went into the therapist as well, he made a note about how, oh, it's dressed in a very gender neutral manner, and I was like, bitch, these are men's clothes. You know, because how can you wear men's clothes when a fucking t-shirt is gender neutral, jeans are gender neutral, a fucking three-piece suit is fucking gender neutral at this point, you know? How are you meant? What is men's clothing at this point? Because women can wear men's clothing without anyone giving a shit. It's completely normal. So why is it even a stipulation? But also, on the flip side of that, if you're a trans woman and you're going in all the way into London to go and see a therapist, and you're not out yet, or you're not on HRT yet, and you're just starting, and you know that you don't pass, it could be incredibly dangerous to go walking across London, you know, getting on public transport wearing a dress. You could get attacked. You know, you just don't know. And in some parts of the country, it could be genuinely quite dangerous. And because you don't know what the attitude is, it might be fine, it might not. It's still very scary. And so, why do we have to dress up to see the fucking therapist? But there seems to be this attitude that you should. And I know that people are like, oh, well, they don't really care if you don't. But it's still something they make a fucking note of, which implies that it is still something that matters to them. You know, if it didn't matter, why bring it up in the first fucking place? Why even mention it? It implies there's an expectation that you will conform to this binary system. And I think that's fucking bullshit, because, you know, I don't want to. A lot of people don't want to. And also, women can wear men's clothes anyway, so why should a trans woman have to wear a dress if she doesn't want to wear a dress? And why should a trans guy not be able to wear whatever the fuck he wants? Why should I have to not be able to have earrings and put clips in my hair and you know, embrace my feminine side? Why do we have to jam ourselves into another narrow box? You know, we've spent our entire lives in this narrow box labelled, you know, male or female, and then what they want us to do is take ourselves out of that box and ram ourselves into another narrow box that doesn't fit us. And that's just not, it's not good for you. It's not good for you. You know, cisgender people could explore gender presentation and all of that, but trans people really do feel like we're rammed into this small box and we have to conform. We have to present in this way. Otherwise we're not, you know, we're faking, or we're trenders, or we're not trying hard enough. And there's a lot of this not trying hard enough bullshit. You know, the endocrinologist was having a go at me for not having changed my name yet, like legally, and I said, well, I had the depot thing, and then the fucking pandemic happened. You know, a pandemic happened, which meant that face-to-face appointments became incredibly difficult to do, and I'm sorry, it's just not important right now. You know, going to the bank and changing my name on my bank card is, in the grand scheme of things, fucking irrelevant. All the people who matter call me by my chosen name. So why do I have to go through the legal thing right now? Or why can I not wait until people aren't fucking dying to do it? You know, and he just was like, oh, you need to do it. And I was like, oh, no, I don't need to do it. I don't need to change my name. I could go by any fucking name I want. It is my name. And if I wanted to be called fucking Susan, I could be called Susan. You know, fuck it. You know, this bullshit gendered nonsense. I shouldn't have to jump through that hoop just because they expect me to if I don't want to. You know, an awful lot of my family didn't go by their birth names, and they never changed their names legally because it just didn't matter. It didn't fucking matter. You know, and I can't change my gender marker on certain things yet anyway. So, what's the point? And I've done the whole name change thing before when I got married. It is a absolute ball ache, and I just don't want to do it right now. It is incredibly stressful. It involves an awful lot of paperwork, an awful lot of going in and justifying yourself to people, and I don't want to do it. I do not want to have to go into every fucking institution that I have cards for and be like, hi, and out myself to every single one of them just to have a letter changed on a thing. It's just not important to me right now. I mean, how often do I look at my cards? How often does anyone look at my cards? You grab it, you go beep on the thing, and nobody ever looks at it. So it's irrelevant right now. You know, I didn't need proof to change my name on other things online, and other things I do, but I need a gender recognition. Like PayPal, I need a gender recognition certificate or some nonsense. And so I'm just not even approaching that right now because I can't deal with PayPal's bullshit. But everyone else is just like, yeah, cool, we'll just change your names, fine. So why this, you know, I kind of felt like a naughty school kid, you know, being scolded for not demanding to go into the bank and have my name changed during a fucking global pandemic. I'm like, are you serious right now? You know, there's also a lot of complicating factors because I can't get a gender recognition certificate in this country anyway because I was born in this country. I don't have a British birth certificate. I'm a British citizen, but I don't have a British birth certificate. I was born in New Zealand. And so I would have to go through the New Zealand system. I emailed the New Zealand embassy to ask them how you go about doing it because the system in New Zealand is you go down to your family court, you sign a piece of paper with a judge, and they stamp it and you're done. It's really fucking easy, but I can't go to a family court because I'm not in a freaking country, you know. So how do I do it? Do I have to go to the embassy and do it? How does it work? They haven't gotten back to me. So I still don't know. And I emailed them months ago. So I don't know. I don't know how to do it. And I don't know how long I have to wait until I can. Because over here it's like 2 years of living in your profession. That is also bullshit. Because how do you define that? You know, I came out in April of 2019, right? So I've been out for over a year. But because I don't pass, and because I haven't changed my cards, I don't have any evidence that I have been living as a guy. And how does one live as male or female anyway? I mean, I don't get it. I've never really had that much of a grasp on gender in terms of how one lives as. I don't know. How do you live as a guy? How do you live as a woman? Does wearing a dress for like a year? I mean, you know, I mean, it's stupid. It's fucking stupid. I mean, to live as a woman, do you have to like take a pay cut and like, you know, be treated like shit and be mansplained to every day? Is that how living as a woman works? And how do you live as a man for like 2 years? Do you just manspread everywhere and mansplain to everyone everything? You just act like a complete prick to everybody. Is that what, you know, how does that even make any sense? You know, it seems to be that I would need to change my gender marker on like my bank, my driver's license, and a couple of other things in order to prove it, and then it would start from that point, which is nonsense because why should I have to? Why should I have to? I'm living as me. And there's no provision in this country for non-binary identities, which is also a problem. I could, if I wanted to, get my New Zealand passport reissued with a non-binary gender marker. But the UK refuses to do that, so that's kind of annoying. And I can get gender-neutral titles from like my bank, but other things it's Mr. or Mrs. Those are your only, you know, Mr., Mrs., Miss, you know, those are your only options. And I just think it's fucking stupid, because ultimately those honorific titles, Mr., Mrs., Ms., Miss, are pointless on most things. I mean, why are they necessary to be on the majority of your stuff? Your ID is a photo of your face and usually some biometric data. Why do they need to know what your genitals look like? And even then, if you're trans, it's not going to necessarily, specify that anyway. So why do they need to know what your gender identity is? Why do they need to know? Or it's not none of their fucking business. The only people to whom my biological sex, my genitals, my gender identity are relevant to are myself, my sexual partner, and my doctor. They're literally the only people who need to know about my genitalia. Thank you very much. And yet, here we are, having to prove this bullshit constantly. And it pisses me off. It fucking pisses me off. So, I have not heard from the GIC. I will not hear from the GIC probably for another year at least, because the wait list is insane. I was referred in April 2019, and I've still not even received we received your referral letter. When I rang them last year, they said it was in the pile, but they hadn't gotten to it yet. And they implied that it went to a panel, which worried me, because basically the form is very, very long and was filled out by my GP with me sitting beside her. And my GP is the worst fucking typist I have ever seen in my life. I mean, I genuinely have not seen someone more incompetent when it comes to typing. I had to fight the urge to shove her aside and just type because it was fucking painful. But also she has a tendency to miss whole words out of sentences because she's used to just paraphrasing or talking into a microphone, into a dictator. And so her sentences don't make any frickin' sense. So she's filled out this form. And she's tried to be thorough, but at the same time, I was kind of embarrassed because I didn't really want to explain my whole, history to this person, and I didn't want to really expose myself that much to this person. But also, she was kind of, repeating everything I said out loud and writing it really, really slowly, and it was all just very embarrassing and very frustrating. But I also worry that what she's written is not necessarily in-depth enough. It's not what they wanted. And so there is this fear at the back of my mind that the panel will get to my referral and they'll go, oh, not trans enough. And then I'll have to start the whole process again. And it might be unreasonable, I don't know, because I don't know how the system works, but not getting that we've received your referral, we're waiting to assign you an appointment letter worries me. And I know a lot of people don't get these letters because they just don't bother sending them out, but with such a long wait time, you kind of want that confirmation that, yes, we will give you an appointment. So, it scares me, it stresses me out, it's not fun. I've been rambling on for half an hour now. Mostly about the state of the NHS, because it is a genuine issue. The way that trans carers being treated in this country is a very big problem, and it needs massive reform. It needs to just have a complete overhaul, because right now it is genuinely not fit for purpose, and it is very harmful, and it's something that the general public just sort of turn a blind eye to because it affects such a small proportion of the population that it's easy to just ignore it or forget about it or just not notice. But it has a very genuine, very real impact on some very vulnerable people, and it needs to be fixed. It needs to be overhauled. The attitude toward, gender conformity, toward gender presentation, toward this whole living as gender, it needs a complete rethink. This attitude that non-binary identities don't exist needs a rethink. The way that we're expected to jump through hoops and conform to this very rigid and very old-fashioned, very outdated and constricting ideal needs changing. The wait times need to be brought down massively. It should be 18 weeks, not 5 years. And we just really need to dismantle all those walls that are being put up in front of people, because people deserve to be able to live their lives free of pain, be it mental or physical pain, to be happy in their own skin, to be comfortable in their own skin, to just be able to live until, to be able to wake up and be able to see the day ahead and the next day and the next day, to not just be existing day to day and hanging on by a thread, which a lot of us have been. I think about how I was before I came out and before I got on tea. I was not living, I was existing. And that is not good for you, it's not good for anyone around you, it is just not, it's not right, it's not okay. We need better mental health support in this country, we need ongoing mental health support, because 8 weeks of sessions is not fucking enough. It's not good enough. And so many people fall through the cracks. I have been dropped through the cracks so many times. I was supposed to get PTSD counselling when I was pregnant with my 3rd child, and they kept saying, yeah, soon. 9 months later, it never happened. And as a result, I had a complete breakdown on the ward, which required the psych team to come in and assess me. And their attitude was, well, of course, they have fucking PTSD and you didn't give them therapy, and then threw them into the same situation again. But unfortunately, I'm not alone in that. And that's what's so upsetting, is knowing that your experiences are not isolated experiences, are not unique experiences. They are a symptom of a very, very broken system that needs complete overhaul to be fair. To be fair and to be fit for purpose, and to stop hurting people, because that's all it does right now, is hurt people. And we're not monsters, we are people, we're human beings, and we deserve to be treated with respect and with dignity and with compassion. And so that's kind of where all the rage comes from, because I just feel so angry about it and so powerless, because I'm just some guy, I'm a nobody, and I can talk until I'm blue in the face, but nothing ever changes, does it? Which is why I'm looking to try and channel a lot of this into something productive, because ultimately things need to change, and just stewing about it isn't going to make a difference. It's not going to fix it. So yeah, that's a downer end, I'm afraid, but sorry, that's the state of things right now. Anyway, happy Halloween, and yay to 11 months, I suppose.